to the charges. He was ordered to remain in jail and appear for sentencing August 21st. A motorcyclist died late Monday night after being involved in a crash with a vehicle in Salt Lake City. The Salt Lake Police Department said 56-year-old Theodore Butcher was riding a motorcycle southbound near 2nd Street and 5600 West when he crashed into a northbound Tesla that made a U-turn. The driver of the Tesla, a 27-year-old man, remained at the crash scene and cooperated with investigators. No arrests or citations have been made. During the investigation, the road was temporarily closed but had since reopened. Police say the crash was the 5th traffic-related fatality in Salt Lake City this year. KVNU weather brought to you by the Lawn Doctor. The Lawn Doctor's 2-service soil enrichment program will help increase the size and number of roots in your grass. For fertilizer, weed, and pest control, call the Lawn Doctor, 753-LAWN. The weather at 4:06 for tonight, mostly cloudy, isolated showers and thunderstorms this evening, low in the lower 50s, 30% chance of afternoon storms tomorrow, partly sunny, high in the upper 70s, slight chance on Friday. It's been to 78. Right now it's 67 at KVNU.
This is David from Roof Rescue. This past winter in Cache Valley was the worst in recent memory, reminding us of the sheer power of Mother Nature. Snow, ice dams, and record low temperatures left behind a trail of leaks, broken gutters, and damaged roofs. Let's get those issues inspected and addressed so that when next winter comes around, you can focus your attention on your family, the holidays, and winter activities instead of leaks, drips, and ice dams. Call today for your complimentary inspection at 435-999-4268 or visit us at roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 4:07. An officer was shot and hospitalized while serving a protective order violation in Ogden. The incident occurred around 3:30 p.m. at 170 North Washington Boulevard following multiple reports of shots fired in the area. According to Deputy Chief Jake Sube with the Ogden Police, an officer confronted the armed individual before shots were fired. The injured officer was transported to a nearby hospital where officials have confirmed that the officer's condition is stable despite sustaining a gunshot wound. Sube said the suspect was killed at the scene during the incident. Authorities have not released the identity of the deceased individual at this time. As per standard protocol, all officers involved in the incident will be placed on administrative leave pending a thorough investigation. Residents at the apartment complex where it happened described a chaotic scene. Authorities temporarily placed the surrounding areas on lockdown as a precautionary measure. However, the lockdown has now been lifted and normal activities have resumed in the area. KVNU News Time is 4:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
It all happens here. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Cache Valley Cruising, Cache Valley Cruising.
Are you ready for Cache Valley's biggest party? Rev your engines and join the fun at Cache Valley Cruising, June 29th through July 1st. This year, they're giving away a gorgeous 1973 Camaro Z28, silver with black stripes. And your ticket is your entry to win the car. But that's not all. The Top Rod of Utah returns, where you can feast your eyes on cars worth big money. And let's not forget the excitement of the poker run, the sock hop, and the swap meet, where you can find unique products and fun gift ideas. Then, get ready to catch the wave of nostalgia with the legendary Beach Boys as they perform all your favorite hits. Tickets are selling fast, so go to Lee's Marketplace or the Cache Valley Cruise-In website to buy tickets now. June 29th through July 1st at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
The Murdoch Summer Tour sales event is here.
At Murdoch Hyundai, we're turning up the volume on savings.
For those summer days with the windows down and tunes playing loud, Murdoch Hyundai has the perfect ride to make your summer unforgettable.
Right now, receive 0% for 3 years on a new Tucson or Santa Fe.
And every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, and owner's assurance.
When you walk through our doors, you feel like family.
And Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Lynn, and Murray, and online at MurdochHyundai.com.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 7/5/2023.
for the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Bill and I buttoning down the hatches here at the station. That came in quick.
I was watching it on radar. It's kind of strange storms this time of year. Typically you think of storms coming from the west or the southwest, but these are kind of coming from the southeast.
Yeah, that's and it came in fast. It'd been a nice, kind of even warmish day, and now it's this. So lightning and thunder out there, so be careful if you're outside, and hold on to something. This wind is kicking up out there, so not sure how much we'll end up with precipitation-wise. It's actually been a bit dry the last few weeks, as Bill mentioned yesterday. Not a lot of accumulation in the storms that have come through, but a lot of thunderstormy days. Water-wise, statewide, we're still looking pretty good. There is concern. Two things. One, of course, that the water situation, that the spigot is just turned off, and at that point we are dry through the rest of the summer. It's been a wet enough spring that if you've been out there in the hills and taken a notice at all, it's there's a lot of fuel. Plenty of fuel out there. So it's possibly going to be a decent wildfire season, but I've been not laughing, but kind of, how about this, noting some of the reaction. The East Coast just getting hammered by a Canada smoke. Wildfires.
We had it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 weeks ago. We were kind of inundated by it.
Is this the same wildfire in British Columbia and parts of Alberta, or is this another one back east?
I'm not sure, but I know some of the pictures I saw today being shared around on social media. Picture from the basement of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., looking out at the Washington Memorial, and you can barely see the memorial. It looks like something out of a science fiction movie, just orange, and they are panicking, and there's part of it, and with good reason. This is unhealthy air. This is in areas with much larger population than Cache Valley, and it is a public health issue. But part of me, I have to admit, has kind of been chuckling because this is new to them. This is something that they haven't experienced this in decades, years at least, but probably decades for most of them. And this is something that's been happening to us every summer. Now, none of it is good or funny. This is, the frequency of wildfires, what it does to the air and the atmosphere, and again, the fact that they seem to be just a much more regular way of life as things get drier and drier in general. It's not funny, but I did have to take a moment and allow myself to chuckle a little bit at some friends on the East Coast.
We get to smoke every summer from wildfire somewhere.
Well, what you're going to do is the same thing all the rest of us do in our bad air days in the wintertime and the wildfire season in the summertime. We spend more time inside if possible and just recognize that air quality, not great out there. So, but yeah, some really strange pictures. I've shared some of them on our Facebook page if you'd like to see them.
Looking at one of the George Washington Bridge across the Hudson River in New Jersey. It's just, you can barely see it.
Yeah. Very, very thick smoke. Now, it's interesting. I learned a bit about this. They have, of course, different air patterns. And you forget that many of these East Coast cities, Washington, D.C. included, are technically coastal cities. So they have humid, close to the ocean air, and the storms that come in are like that as well. And so what that means is that when they do get when a storm does come in, it blows all of this out, just like a storm does here, even in the winter inversions. But it also means that when the storms come in, they aren't necessarily triggered to do anything. So a lot of the cloud cover, a lot of the storms that do come in off the ocean, oftentimes just drift over.
Yeah.
No real stirring up of the air and things like that. So there is some concern that that this will be a prolonged thing on the East Coast.
So especially, the flow is from Canada. It's heading south.
Yeah.
Into those areas. So you need something else like a storm system from the west or something.
Yeah.
But I was reading here, more than 400 blazes are burning in Canada.
That's what it just blows me away. And now this is leading to, I wouldn't call it an international incident, but Canada is under some criticism for their wildfire management, or lack thereof, I guess you'd say. Canada, like the rest of North America, has experienced record heat and drought over the last several years as, climate change-induced warming of the planet shifts things and changes things. So it looks like most of the Canadian fires... So last month, Canada experienced its hottest day ever. And that was recorded in, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Lytton, British Columbia. And that was 121 degrees Fahrenheit. Smashing records, which the previous record was 113.
That would make Death Valley jealous.
Yeah, actually, that's mentioned here in this CBS News story I found on this. It's tied, that 120 degrees Fahrenheit tied Death Valley, the Death Valley record as the hottest day in North America that day. And that was just last month in Canada. So, and most of the fires are happening in the prairies of like Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and those fires are just raging there. Now, this isn't an area where wildfire mitigation, this is an area that, despite how far north it is, it looks and is dry like a lot of Texas is. But it does have a bit more fuel than Texas does to keep a wildfire burning. So, according to the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System, the destruction from these fires to this point in this single season has been 13 times worse than their 10-year average. So one single season has burned more more structures, buildings, damaged roads beyond repair, melting black asphalt and things like that. It's 13 times worse than the 10-year average, and that does include acres burned. They factor that into the total destruction reports. So New York City currently suffocating under just this thick smog, a bit worse than Washington, D.C. even. But they're even seeing it in parts of Florida, where it's turning up more as just a little haze. Wow.
Because we're getting the deluge.
Yeah, meanwhile, the wind is blowing the rain sideways against the station window.
Incidentally,
here.
I guess our tower got struck by lightning, and we were off the air for just a second on our AM, according to our Aaron, the engineer.
I may have seen that lightning strike as I was rounding the corner to the station. That was quite a bit of it there for a little while, and quite a bit of thunder going on. But back to Canada. So New York City, Washington, D.C., even parts of Florida, worst in New York and D.C., but parts of Florida even noticing, hazy air, and recommendations, especially for older individuals there in Florida, that they stay inside, close their windows, and take precautions if they do go out, because it is definitely harmful air. The United States Senate actually weighing in on this. On the floor of the Senate today, Senator Chuck Schumer said that the smoke blanketing the eastern seaboard was turning skies orange, and it shared some pictures with the rest of his colleagues there on the Senate floor on a video screen of shrouded skyscrapers, and even the Statue of Liberty that, was kind of, you could tell it was there, but you couldn't really make out what it was from a popular vantage point for tourists. So obviously some disappointed tourists there in New York today. This is, it's a pretty big deal. Now, how did the fire start? Dry, hot weather is primarily the contributor. Most of them, they believe, were sparked by lightning as the normal seasonal storms came through. Half of Canada's wildfires at this point attributed to lightning, and those fires account for more than 85% of the wildfire destruction and the smoke in the air. The other half, though, were human-caused. Officials in Alberta said that the cause of fires in some cases is unknown, and so they're attributed to lightning or other things like that. But many of the fires, they have been able to pin down to human-caused fires. A lot of driving through some of these prairie areas. So they believe that at least 7 of these fires were started. It's this dry. They were started by discarded cigarette butts from passing cars and trains. The harsh weather conditions and the amount of fuel out there means the fires have been fast spreading. And Canada has a kind of a preparedness level similar to our FEMA emergency scale, which is a point scale. They're currently at level 5, which means they are considering this a national emergency, meaning national resources have been mobilized to fight the fires. And they are hoping and working with U.S. firefighting agencies as well to get some additional help up there to try and contain some of them, though. And, interestingly enough, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa have flown firefighters in as well to help fight the fires. So President Biden said today that they're deploying about 600 U.S. firefighters tomorrow morning, support personnel and equipment to support Canada as they respond to these record wildfires. And the big concern, of course, is that things are actually intensifying. The forecast is for more hot, dry air and wind. And the Canadian government actually updated their outlook this afternoon, just a few minutes before the show started. And it reads, current June projections indicate the potential for continued higher than normal fire activity across most of the country throughout the 2023 wildland fire season, which goes until October, due to ongoing drought and long-range forecasts for warmer temperature and little moisture. So,
yeah. Of course, there's concern here, because we've had storm after storm this spring, and it continues here into early June. It's raining right now, but eventually the faucet's going to turn off.
Sure.
And all this vegetation, all this abundant grass is going to be drying out.
Yeah, and it's a concern. But it looks like the Canadian wildfire smoke is going to be with us it's going to be with Canada for sure, and possibly shifting back in our direction for the rest of the summer. So, by the way, National Weather Service announced on Wednesday that for the first time in 40 days, there was no flood active watches in Utah. No watches, warnings, or advisories throughout the state of Utah for the first time today. So,
all right.
Yeah, woo. We'll be back right after this.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family. Where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement. Where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Contact Morris Columbus Travel to book your Disney Cruise Line vacation at morriscolumbus.com.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, Edward Jones agrees, and they can help. Together, they'll give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Stop by your local Edward Jones office, one of 7 locations in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
He won't come. He's too busy.
Jenny, of course he'll come.
Happy birthday!
Dad!
I know. You guys didn't think I'd make it, but come on. Could I really miss my son's birthday? Here you go, Dan.
Thanks, Dad. But today's Jenny's birthday.
Give me that. Happy birthday, Jenny!
Need to get closer to your family?
Nice football, Dad.
Give your family everything. Give them your time. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
We've been struck by lightning. We were off air there.
My hair didn't even stand on end.
We were off
Not that
air
I have a lot, to stand on end, but
we were off air there for a few minutes. Our engineers tell us on the AM, but
still on our FM, and stream was
that was
okay.
A pretty intense storm that already looks like it is blown over or blown itself out. Still raining, decent amount out there right now, but. Yeah, some thunder and lightning there just as we started the show today, and apparently that took us out on the AM for a couple of minutes. We're back, so if you lost us there, you can tune back in there. We were talking about the Canadian wildfires, the smoke hitting the East Coast today, and me kind of chuckling at their panic because we're used to this kind of thing, but it's really no laughing matter overall. And again, it looks like the Canadian prairie fires are going to be with us throughout the summer. Just too much to try and get ahead of there in Canada, and they're experiencing drought just like all of North America has the last several years. And then the news today that Utah, 40 comes up a lot in this. So we broke a 40-year record for snowpack this year. And then today marks the end of a 40-day stretch of continuous flood risk and watches and warnings. And the last one, by the way, so this is after 40 days. Today, there are no active flood watches, warnings, or advisories in the state of Utah for the first time in 40 days. And the last one, congratulations for holding out till the end, the Bear River near Woodruff. That was the last active flood warning in the state of Utah, and that was lifted this morning. So also alongside that, the Sevier River near Hatch in southern Utah was under a flood advisory, not a warning. And that was lifted this morning as well. So we are currently, now they're warning that this may not stay the case, but for the time being, there are no active flood watches, warnings, or advisories throughout the state of Utah. We do have a caller on the line, our good friend Jeff joining us. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yes, sir. I made this comment several years ago, and you said you were aware of something that I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
I got my BS in forestry from USU back in the 60s, and we spent quite a bit of time out on forest fires.
Oh, sure.
And it was information being spread by Native Americans. There was a boy named George, I don't remember his last name, from the White Mountain Apache Reservation, a survivalist, who would travel the entire coast region from Arizona down there all the way up into Alaska, starting fires.
Wow.
Because it put his Indian people to work, and they made an awful lot of money during the summer fighting fires. And he would take another year to come back home and start the cycle again. And I'm not kidding, we all understood it, and the Indians were talking about it. I don't remember George's last name. He's probably dead by now, but I bet he had an acolyte who was out there as well, learning the ropes. Just a thought.
It's worth
it. Puts an awful lot of people to work to make an awful lot of federal money fighting fires.
It does.
And they really do that. Sorry to tell you how the real world works.
No.
Later, boss.
Thanks, Jeff. Always great to hear from you. And Jeff is right. You can actually read about this. I don't remember if I read it in a book about this specifically, but it was in a book I read about the West, and I think it was a book on water. Something like Cadillac Desert or one of those. But, yeah, Jeff is right. This is a real thing that happened multiple times probably. But the one story I knew of matches the story Jeff personally heard about there, which was this individual from Arizona to Montana as he moved through the country would set these fires. And it was a real thing. There is a lot of money involved in this. It's money well spent. There are some situations where we can let them burn, but once the fire is going, we've kind of got no choice but to fight it. And believe me, these fires in Canada, if they burn through the summer like they're predicting, that's going to have a huge cost. Also, consider the economic cost as well of all the economic activity in the U.S. that shuts down when the air quality is this bad. Huge costs all around. Thanks for the call, Jeff. Always good to hear from you. We'll be back after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:30. The news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. The man accused of killing Dylan Rounds limped into a Utah courtroom Monday afternoon wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs around his wrists, and shackles on his ankles. James Brenner spoke only one word during the 9-minute hearing in the Box Elder County Courthouse. First District Judge Brandon Maynard asked Brenner if he was okay with the timeline of future hearings, and Brenner responded yes. The 59-year-old is charged with aggravated murder and abuse or desecration of a human body, along with some firearms charges. Brenner was squatting on property near Round's trailer when the 19-year-old disappeared from his farm in the remote town of Lucin, Utah, over Memorial Day weekend in 2022. His body has not been found, but Round's boots were discovered near a dirt mound, and his phone was at the bottom of a pond near Brenner's trailer. Brenner has a violent criminal history and was arrested in June 2022 on outstanding warrants. He was booked into the Weber County Jail in Ogden on federal charges, and then in March, Box Elder County Attorney Blair Wardle announced Brenner was the suspect in Round's murder case. During Monday's hearing, Michael Studebaker, Brenner's attorney, asked Judge Maynard to appoint co-counsel to assist in the defense. Maynard said he would look into having an additional defense attorney appointed and explain the challenges the court has to deal with as Brenner is facing both state and federal charges. Wardle said the process takes 6 weeks, so Brenner's next court appearance, where a decision will be made on whether to hold a preliminary hearing, will not be held until July 31st. A man was arrested after allegedly following 3 children home from school for about a week and a half. According to a probable cause statement, 33-year-old Nicholas Wenchow had previously spoken to the youngest child, who was 6 years old, when they fell while walking home from school in Salt Lake City. Wenchow reportedly followed the 3 kids home from school on Monday and went to the windows of their residence and peered into each of them, including the bedroom window of one of the victims, according to court documents. Officials said one of the children took a photo of Wenchow when he was outside of their window. They said Wenchow resisted officers as they attempted to arrest him by continually pulling his hands away and not following commands. As police were arresting Wenchow, they had allegedly found a clear pipe with residue on it in his possession. Wenchow was charged with 3 counts of voyeurism against a child under the age of 14, 1 count of interference with an arresting officer, and 1 count of use or possession of drug paraphernalia. And police are seeking information on a suspicious incident in which someone was seen falling from a moving vehicle before being placed back into the vehicle by the driver. Sandy officers said the incident happened at 12:13 a.m. the morning of June 3rd. Based on evidence gathered, officials said it appeared that a possible female fell out of the vehicle, which then came to an abrupt stop. A male possibly then was reported to have gotten out of the vehicle, picked up the woman, and placed her back into the vehicle before fleeing westbound. The vehicle was described as a dark, compact 4-door passenger vehicle. Anyone with information or video footage has been asked to contact Sandy's non-emergency dispatch number at 801-799-3000 and reference case 28791. KVNU News Time is 4:34.
With summer here, our beautiful lawns face a new threat. It's a threat you can't see because it's happening below the grass level, at the roots. Those nasty bill bugs and grubs are beginning to hatch and they are hungry. Your lawn is a smorgasbord to them and they can't wait to belly up to the table. Get a jump on those bugs by calling Logan Extermination today. They'll apply a custom spray for bugs and also fertilize to keep weeds under control and your grass growing tall. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
A request to New Yorkers from Governor Kathy Hochul: avoid outdoor activities until the air quality improves.
This is a very serious, dangerous situation.
The EPA's Air Quality Index says most of the eastern U.S. is in the unhealthful range, or worse, as smoke from massive wildfires in Canada continues to drift south.
We're still going to be in the thick of it tomorrow, even through Friday, and by Monday and Tuesday of next week, a front drives in. There is where we should start to see some rain, and that will really help to alleviate the situation.
ABC's Samara Theodore. The family of Maria del Carmen Lopez is calling on President Biden and Mexican President Lopez Obrador to work together to rescue her. They believe Lopez is alive and she's being held by her kidnappers in Mexico. Drinking water is being rushed to areas affected by flooding from a collapsed dam in southern Ukraine. The Senate Finance Committee will investigate the merger of PGA and Saudi-backed Live Golf. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. If your clothes dryer isn't drying, it might be the dryer vent. So don't buy new. Call the Duct Hunter first. They'll come clean it out for you. 435-770-4813. KVNU weather at 4:36. Mostly cloudy. Isolated showers and thunderstorms this evening. Overnight low in the lower 50s. A 30% chance of storms in the afternoon on Thursday. Partly cloudy skies. High in the upper 70s. Slight chance of storms Thursday night. And again Friday afternoon. 78 has been our high. It's really cooled off with the thunderstorm that blew through. 58 is where we currently sit at KVNU. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Ted Karen with Edward Jones Investments in Smithfield, bringing you the daily financial market report for Wednesday, June 7th. Major stock markets were mixed on Wednesday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up, but the NASDAQ and S&P 500 down. Investors are likely waiting to see Fed commentary and PMI data next week to gauge economic growth and rate expectations. Investors are also keeping an eye on the Treasury rebuild that will start soon, following the suspension of the debt ceiling and reducing liquidity in the market. Bond yields seem to be holding steady with no change in rate expectations from the Fed. The 10-year yield traded around 3.8%. Internationally, European and Asian stocks were flat as well. Oil was up after announcements of a voluntary supply cut from Saudi Arabia, trading close to $73 a barrel. Gold was down $25, over 1%, to $1,956 an ounce. In stocks of local interest, Apple was down $1 to $178 a share. Nucor up $4 to $148 a share. Zions Bank up $1.37 to $31.49 a share. Amazon down $5 to $121. Delta Airlines up 59 cents to $38.23. Boeing was up $4.64 to nearly $212 a share. Berkshire Hathaway up $2 to $335. And Disney up 36 cents to $92.52 a share. This has been today's financial market report brought to you by Ted Karen, Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. If you'd like additional information, please visit with any of the 9 Edward Jones advisors in Cache Valley, in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
The way you water your lawn makes a big difference. Water restrictions and water costs have both increased over the last few years. The Lawn Doctor offers a popular service to help keep your lawn green and healthy while watering less. One application of our HydroGuard service reduces your watering frequency by up to 1 day a week, saving you water and money.
Watering help, weed, fertilizer, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to lawndoctor.com.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Thursday on This Morning, America's First News. There are whispers that a federal indictment is imminent for former President Trump regarding the classified documents case. Also, CEOs are rethinking how or whether to touch sensitive political or social matters in their marketing campaigns. Hear what's trending. And home improvement projects that give the best bang for the buck. Thursday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Utah Women in Leadership Project at Utah State University out with a whole list of announcements today. You can follow the work of Dr. Susan Madsen and others involved with the Utah Women in Leadership Project at Utah State University on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You can visit their website as well, which is just utwomen.org. This is an ongoing research project of Utah State University, led by Dr. Susan R. Madsen, frequent guest here on the show, though not for some time, our fault, not hers. You can hear interviews with her over the last few years, including one that kind of shocked me, that she didn't mean to do this, but it ended up being very critical of how I interview and talk to women as guests here on the show. Some of the things I was doing when we would have women in the studio that I wouldn't do when we had men in the studio, especially if they were political candidates. It was eye-opening. But that's just one example of some of the work that they do. They also have done some amazing research on women in the workplace, women in city and county government, and some of the barriers there that are slowly lifting. But so just some really interesting stuff. And they have several things coming up. So Dr. Madsen sent us a list earlier this afternoon, and I wanted to remind everyone. So first off, they're firing back up their podcast, the Utah Women in Leadership Project podcast, and with a focus on 100 companies championing women. And some of the companies that they'll be interviewing CEOs and presidents from here in Utah, doTERRA and USANA, but also national companies like Chatbooks, Brandless, Regency Blue Cross Blue Shield, DigiCert, and others, guests on their show. So that's pretty cool. And then they put out a schedule today of some of the research briefs that will be released and events they have happening. Some things you might want to put on your calendar. So first off, June 24th in the daytime, 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., they are teaming up with Postpartum Support International for an event called Climb Out of the Darkness, Utah. So this is, again, the Utah Women in Leadership Project and the Postpartum Support International organization teaming up to talk about and share information about educational resources, others resources that are out there for women dealing with postpartum depression. So Climb Out of the Darkness, by the way, is the world's largest event raising awareness about maternal mental illnesses like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, OCD, postpartum. Did you know that? I didn't know that until recently, Bill, but women through a pregnancy, and this is triggered by a bunch of different factors, but through a pregnancy, women can become temporarily or even permanently obsessive compulsive. It's a mental illness that's easy to document and easy to treat, or easy to diagnose and easy to treat. But oftentimes, because it's something that a woman has never dealt with until she was pregnant, and because it doesn't seem like that's something that could come on during a pregnancy, it often goes undiagnosed. And
Interesting.
It can be really debilitating, even in its very mild forms. Mild forms such as not being able to get something out of your head to the point that it becomes problematic and you have to drop everything else to take care of that problem, even if it makes the rest of the day, throws the rest of your schedule off. But extreme versions of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, can actually lead to a person being unable to leave the house. You've heard those stories. That can actually set in during a pregnancy. It's complicated how. But yeah, so postpartum post-traumatic stress disorder is also part of this. Very difficult pregnancies can lead a pregnant mom after the pregnancy comes to term, baby is born, life's going, settling in at that point, and yet mom has PTSD. If it was a difficult pregnancy, a lot of doctor's visits, a lot of close calls and scares, a lot of worry for weeks and months sometimes about losing the baby. All of that can actually lead to PTSD. These are things most men especially don't know, but surprisingly, Dr. Magidson and her team says a lot of women don't know that these are things that can happen and happen frequently during pregnancies. And of course, we've all probably heard the term postpartum depression, but very few people understand it as actually a form of depression and anxiety, which can lead to suicide ideation. It can, it's a serious, serious thing. So, Climb Out of the Darkness is a long-running awareness-raising event, one of the largest, happens nationwide. And the Utah Women in Leadership Project at USU is bringing it to town. June 24th at Wheeler Farm, 9:30 a.m. It wraps up at 1:30. This is, from the way it's been described to me, sort of a fair festival-style event, food trucks, family and friends, or family-friendly activities, sorry. Emily Starr from BYU TV's Random Acts Show will be the MC this year. They do ask that you pre-register and bring everyone you know in your family, but it is a free event and a lot of cool stuff. And I know last year they gave away some pretty impressive prizes when they did this. So again, Climb Out of the Darkness, raising awareness about maternal mental illness issues and the resources that are out there that many moms don't know about, many families don't know about. Because, of course, this isn't something that just affects mom. This is a fundraiser, of course, for the Utah team of Climb Out of the Darkness. They're hoping to raise $5,000, and so far they've raised about $1,400 of that. So you can help them out on June 24th at this event. I've linked to that on our Facebook page. Coming up July 18th, Utah Women in Leadership Project will host the Business Women's Forum 2023. This was widely attended last year, a few thousand people there on campus, but they're doing it again. The theme this year, Elevating Women at All Ages, a Force for Change. The Women's Business Forum will take place July 18th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and if you know anyone who'd be interested, registration information and more can be found at the statewide Chamber of Commerce, known as the Salt Lake Chamber, which you can find at slchamber.com. Just click on the Business Women's Forum 2023 there, and you'll see all of the events and guest speakers and more. And the big one this year is Robin Cohen, co-founder of Utah's 40 Over 40. She'll be one of the keynote speakers and presenters at this day-long event, the Business Women's Forum 2023, hosted by the Utah State Chamber of Commerce. So link to that on our Facebook page. If you'd like to see more of the research from the Utah Women in Leadership Project, they've got some new ones out. Sexist Language and Terms. That was actually published on LinkedIn just last week, by LinkedIn last week. So pretty cool. Utah State University Research is actually making it onto the front page of one of the biggest social media platforms out there for business. And another one that you can check out, Stick With It Stories. Dr. Madsen talks about having empathy in our lives and how much it can mean in the workplace. So some cool stuff. I've linked to it all on our Facebook page, and we'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People right after this.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
A lot of our patients end up having autoimmune conditions. This is where their immune system, rather than attacking bacteria, a virus, or other bad things, it starts to attack their own tissue. This can cause so many different issues and symptoms throughout the whole body. The biggest thing for us at Red River is to identify what's causing the autoimmune response to flare up. This could be intestinal problems, blood sugar imbalances, cortisol defects, hormonal imbalances, along with something as simple as dietary triggers and environmental triggers. One of the most common causes, too, when you have an autoimmune condition is you'll have inflammation throughout the whole body. Not every patient will have the same imbalances or the same triggers, and so we have to customize a very personalized treatment plan in order for these patients to feel better.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
If it's leaking, replace it. If it's worn, replace it. If you're constantly worrying about it with every windstorm, replace it. What are we talking about? Your roof. Palmer's Metal Mart is your place for a long-lasting, great-looking metal roof for your home, cabin, barn, or shed. Metal roofing is the put-it-up-and-forget-about-it roofing solution. For almost 30 years, people have chosen Palmer's Metal Mart for metal roofing for their selection, price, and most importantly, the professional help you get with your project. From start to finish, Metal Mart can help you with all the options for your amazing metal roof. Whether it's an accent on your roof or a complete re-roof, Palmer's Metal Mart is the place to go. Metal provides a unique and timeless look that gives the wow factor to any project. So come see the metal roofing experts at Palmer's Metal Mart, located in Lehigh and Logan. We're ready to help. Ask about quick same-day will calls or delivery to your door. Palmer's Metal Mart, everyone's metal store.
The landscaping season is now in full swing, and Canyon Landscaping is still booking for this season. For over 2 decades, Canyon Landscaping has been Cache Valley's leader of new and existing home landscaping projects. Spots are filling fast, so don't wait any longer for your outdoor living to become an extension of your home. To get your project going, request an appointment online at canyonlandscaping.com or call 752-3838. Let's get started on your yard. 752-3838. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
When a tiny drop causes a ripple and becomes a wave, it travels through all corners of the planet, sustains all forms of life, and provides streams of wonder, rivers of adventure, and oceans of discovery. One drop connects us all. Reserve your visit now to Loveland Living Planet Aquarium, a nonprofit organization. Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It is hour 2 of today's show. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Excuse me. It is not hour 2 of today's show. It's going to be hour 2.
We're almost there.
So what happened there in my brain, if everybody wants to know, is Bill and I were talking about, so you're going to hear an interview that Bill conducted at 510 on one of my favorite organizations here in the Valley. And I don't want to spoil it yet, so I'll just say that as a teaser and leave it there. But we were talking about that, and so for some reason my brain said we were starting hour 2. So, we'll be talking about the Family Places Fly with the Family Place event starting hour 2. That's what I meant to say as we came back from that break, but it happens.
It's live radio.
Yeah. So, campaign signs. We haven't seen them yet here in Cache Valley. I love this kind of stuff. And let me throw a huge grain of salt on everything I'm about to say and ask listeners to weigh in on. No one really knows for sure. And every area is probably different. Every race is probably different. But you've all heard, most of you have probably heard the adage, campaign signs don't vote. And what that means when someone says that is, so you'll always hear someone in an election, a statewide race, even, but usually it's more county and city elections or state legislative races and where they're very localized. And you'll hear someone say, I see more signs for so-and-so than anyone else. So that person's going to win. I'd be surprised if that person doesn't win because I see more of their signs than anything else. And then the election comes around and that person loses. And so you get this meme that has developed over the years, campaign signs don't vote. And what they're saying basically is, you might be seeing more signs for this candidate. That doesn't mean that candidate's going to get more votes. And we've seen that play out again and again and again. So we haven't started seeing the lawn signs yet here in Cache Valley. We will within, I would guess, the next, month at the earliest, probably a couple months, we'll start seeing those signs going up for the municipal races. In other parts of the state, it's going to be a little earlier because, surprise announcement last week from Congressman Chris Stewart in District 2, which is a good chunk of Salt Lake City and other parts of western Utah, going on down to the Cedar City area. They are going to have a congressional race happening. And the details on that are still being hammered out by the legislature behind the scenes because a special session hasn't even been called by the governor yet, but they basically said they're going to do it because they screwed up when they wrote election law after Chaffetz retired or stepped down early to take a job at Fox News. The legislature was mad. The governor got to call all the shots. That was some power they didn't realize they hadn't given themselves yet, so they held a special session after threatening to sue the governor, and the attorney general stepping in and saying, no, sorry, the governor's right. They said, all right, we're changing the law, and they did. And now, as Congressman Stewart announces he's stepping down, they realize, oh, we messed up big time. So it was going to mean that Congressman Stewart would step down in September, and that seat would sit vacant until the spring of 2024 because Utah lawmakers rewrote election law to give themselves more power. So now they've got to go fix that. And so they're going to hurry and do that. So that's going to affect part of the state, not us here in northern Utah. Thankfully, though, you will be seeing a lot of television ads because of the way television news markets work. So I'm sorry for that in advance. Back to lawn signs. We won't see them here until mid to late summer here in Cache Valley, but you will start to see them. And the question always is, do they make a difference? The general, big general, because again, every race is different, every locale is different. So you might have a race that gets super heated over a very, very hyper local issue that supercharges the voters in that district for a city council seat, for example, in which yard signs aren't going to make the bit of difference. Not at all. But in general, in a sleepy race where there's no controversy, there's no issue galvanizing voters, there's no pretext of a big decision around the corner that's got everyone plugged in. It's just, hey, some elections are happening and a couple seats are up, and here are the people running to be reelected or running to challenge those people. And that's pretty much the gist of it. No controversies, no big issues. Nothing getting voters super engaged in it until you're almost to election day. At that point, lawn signs actually do help. And it's the same way a lot of advertising works. So this is one of the things people don't, and I'm not revealing any secrets I've learned from our sales team here. This is just a general thing I remember learning in a marketing class that pretty much holds up. But a lot of advertising is not action-oriented. It's not designed to get you to do something right then. What it's designed to do is be memorable. Because the assumption is eventually, and this is true of a lot of service business-oriented advertising, eventually you're going to need their services. So a plumber comes up with a great jingle for their radio ad, something really memorable you can't forget. One that it really sticks in my mind because in the 90s and early 2000s this was huge, and I would guess most people my age and older, you could probably sing it, Bill, but Lynn's Audio and Video had a jingle that and that wasn't intended to get you to drop everything you're doing and go to Lynn's Audio and Video right then and buy a stereo or whatever, a television. What it was intended to do is make you remember them. So when you're at home and the flat screen breaks, you don't have to flip through a Google search or anything to know where you can go get one here locally. That's what the ad's intended to do. And it works. We're creatures. This isn't even a creature of habit kind of thing. Our brain remembers things we don't know we remembered. And so you have something pop up in your life, and a pipe breaks in your basement. The water heater goes out, leaking all over the floor. Well, the first thing you're going to remember is a catchy jingle from a plumber's radio ad. Same exact concept with yard signs and candidates. They are not intended for you to drive past and change your mind on who you're going to vote for. They're not intended to get you to drop everything you're doing and go mail your ballot in right then. What a yard sign is intended to do is make that candidate recognizable and memorable to you, because they're not trying to get the people who have an opinion already. They're trying to get the people with these yard signs. Candidates are trying to get the people who know they're going to vote, maybe, but maybe not, probably, and they don't really know who they're going to vote for. And what they hope is going to happen is when they go in to fill out their ballot and drop it in the mail or drop it in a drop box, they're going to see a name, relate it to a yard sign they enjoyed that was pleasant to look at or memorable in some way, and get their vote. And believe it or not, this actually works. So to answer the question, do yard signs work in elections? Yes, most of the time they actually do. And most of us don't want to admit that we're that impressionable, but we are.